Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Drew on General Hospital had a confusing life and an unfortunate death, but we'll try to clear things up for you. The character technically first appeared back in October of 2014, played by Billy Miller, although for the first 3 years, Drew thought he was actually Jason Morgan, which is why in flashbacks, Steve Burton played Drew since they used to have the same face. Also, Asher McDonald played Drew in a scene from his childhood. Unfortunately, in July 2019, the actor announced his departure from GH. But this wasn't the end of the character's story because in August 2021, Cameron Matheson revealed that his mysterious new role on the soap was actually Drew, and he's been playing him ever since. Drew and his twin brother, Jason, were born to Susan Moore after her affair with Alan Quartermain. When Susan was pregnant, she fled Port Charles and stayed with her cousin, Heather Weber, in New York City, fearing Alan would drag her back home to raise their child. When Heather brought nurse Betsy Frank in, they learned that Susan was having twins. Heather suggested that since Alan didn't know they were having twins, Susan could return to Port Charles with Jason and leave Drew with Betsy. Then, after Alan took custody of one child, Susan could return to the other. Susan died tragically, and Heather never returned, so Betsy raised Drew alongside Heather's son, Bobby, who later became known as Franco Baldwin. She claimed the two were as close as brothers could be until Drew died of a heart defect. However, when an adult Franco confronted Betsy, she confessed that Drew hadn't died, and she was forced to give him away after Franco had pushed him down a flight of stairs when they were 3. Later, it was revealed that Franco had been molested by Jim Harvey, and when a confrontation as adults led to Jim attempting to kill Franco, Drew shot the monster dead. Later, the two men became even closer when Franco was temporarily implanted with Drew's stolen memories. Drew grew up in an orphanage and later became a Navy SEAL who was stationed in San Diego, CA. But while his name was Andrew Kane, it was never revealed who his adopted parents were who gave him that name, if, in fact, that's where he got the last name of Kane in the first place. That's one mystery that was never solved. While he was a Navy SEAL, Drew had a fling with Dr. Kim Nero, and while brief, it was passionate enough that she gave birth to his son, Oscar Nero. He also has a daughter, Scout, with Sam McCall, from the time they were married, and everyone believed him to be Jason. When Drew was found on the side of the road, his face was badly injured and he required reconstructive surgery. While he initially suffered from amnesia, he soon began to recall memories of being Jason Morgan and living in Port Charles. So everyone in town believed that he was Jason back from the dead. That is, until the real Jason returned from the dead, having been kept prisoner in a Russian clinic for many years. It was then revealed that Dr. Andrew Maddox had developed a procedure for copying memories and transferring them that he had hoped to use on his ailing wife and other Alzheimer's sufferers. But his technology was used to steal Jason's memories and implant them into Drew. The flash drive containing Drew's memories finally surfaced, but once given the opportunity to restore his past, Drew chose not to, afraid that the procedure would erase the memories he created during his time in Port Charles. Knowing he wasn't Jason allowed Drew to forge his own life, but it also meant the end of his relationship with Sam, who he let return to Jason. Drew continued to rely on his friendship with Curtis and running Aurora Media. He grew closer to Kim as they bonded over Oscar's terminal illness, and they shared a kiss on New Year's Eve, but it never went any further than that. After a man approached Jason believing him to be Drew and claiming to be an old friend of his from Afghanistan, both Jason and Drew were wary of the stranger, rightfully so, as it was later revealed that Hank was actually Shiloh, the leader of the Dawn of Day cult. But Drew was more focused on making sure that Oscar's final days of life were as happy as they could make them. After Oscar's death, Drew worked through his grief only to find himself at the center of Shiloh's dastardly plot. The cult leader was desperate to know what happened to the stolen money from their time in Afghanistan. And since Drew didn't remember anything about it, Shiloh swiped the flash drive with his memories and implanted them into Franco. This meant that Drew could figure out where the money was that Shiloh was after and found in the car Oscar had left Cameron. Franco, as Drew, suggested the cash be returned, so Drew flew off to Afghanistan, but then went to track down Ander and get him to come back to Port Charles in the hopes of restoring Franco to his previous self. Unfortunately, while Ander made it back, Drew's plane was reported lost, as though it had simply vanished, thanks to arrangements made by Peter August trying to cover his involvement in the memory swapping scheme. Drew may have been legally declared dead, but in 2021, it was revealed that he was being held prisoner in an undisclosed location when he managed to make a brief call to Sam begging for help. When he was treated by Nurse Chloe Jennings, he hatched an escape plan, but unfortunately, only she was able to get away. He then encountered Dr. Liesel Albrecht, who was also being held prisoner, and learned that Peter was working with Victor Cassadine and they had been behind his kidnapping. Peter then activated Drew by hypnotic suggestion and had him try to kill Anna Devane and Valentin Cassadine. As they exchanged gunfire, Drew was hit, but he survived and continued doing Peter's evil bidding until Jason managed to deactivate him. He helped Britt and Liesel escape the Cassadine compound, but Jason was presumed dead when the tunnels collapsed. Drew returned to Port Charles and had a bittersweet reunion with Monica where he told her about Jason. As he struggled to fit back into his old life and accept that Sam had moved on with Dent, Drew grew closer to Carly as she leaned on him in Jason's absence. She also helped Drew out when Victor tried looking for a way to control his mind to search his memories for Project Demeter. Drew assisted Curtis in investigating his father, Marshall Ashford, who turned out not to have been dead, but in hiding. After meeting with an executive coach, Drew decided to work with Michael to merge ELQ and Aurora Media. Unfortunately, Valentin squashed that move, and Drew felt terrible because it left Carly without enough money to reclaim her half of the MetroCorp she'd sold to Invest. As Drew continued to try and help Carly deal with moving on from her marriage to Sonny as well as coping with losing her hotel and money, the pair grew closer together. And during the Quartermain charity picnic, their flirting led to a kiss, although Carly wanted to take some time before jumping into a new relationship. Drew thought they could have something special and flew down to Jacksonville when Carly found herself stranded in Florida. After he helped her deal with some problems in her old hometown, Drew and Carly decided to give a relationship a try. Unfortunately, they had to keep it a secret because Ned threatened to report Carly for insider trading in the Aurora/ELQ merger. Drew offered to help Willow Tate find her biological mother, but Carly undermined his investigation and steered him in the wrong direction. After apologizing for his failure, Drew realized that Willow was desperate to find a biological relative because she had leukemia. Willow begged Drew to keep her secret, but when he learned that Carly had been sabotaging his search, he revealed the reason he was working so hard. Since Willow had cancer, Carly quickly informed Drew that Nana Reeves is her biological mother, and he was appalled that not only had she known the entire time, but had lied to his face about it. Carly worried that Drew might never forgive her for lying, but he did, and the pair finally consummated their relationship. Drew warned Carly that because she'd bought those shares in Aurora because he told her about the possible merger with ELQ, they could both be arrested for insider trading. The pair decided to keep their romance on the down low so as not to bring attention to what they'd done. Unfortunately, while Drew was in Greenland on the rescue team trying to stop Victor from destroying the world, the feds arrested Carly, and when he returned to Port Charles, he found himself in hot water as well. Believing that Ned turned them in to the SEC, Drew and Carly plotted to use Tracy to force Ned to call off the investigation. As the hearing neared, Drew met with his lawyer, Zeke Robinson, and tried to figure out a way to strike a deal so he would take the heat and not Carly. But in court, the judge decided to make an example of Drew and instead of a light sentence at Spring Ridge, sentenced him to 3 years in Pentonville. There, he ran afoul of Cyrus Renault, who claimed he turned over a new leaf and found religion. Defending Cyrus against some other inmates like Book landed Drew in solitary confinement, but Sonny was able to get him out early so Carly could continue to visit her beau. As Carly worked with Diane to get him released, Drew agreed to help Sonny find out who Austin was meeting with at Pentonville. This landed him in the hospital after being assaulted by Cyrus goons. Thankfully, Alexis was able to force the judge to commute Drew's sentence or she'd expose his corruption in her paper and Drew was finally released. Drew reunited with his loved ones and quickly schemed with Michael to make a big move for ELQ. But everything changed when he found out that Nina was responsible for landing him in prison. Drew was already acting more intense since coming out of prison and clashing with Sam over raising Scout. But this news made him determined to get payback on Nina. He fired her from Crimson and installed Carly as the new editor-in-chief. Carly expressed her concern that Drew seemed so focused on vengeance and wouldn't stop going after Nina, even threatening to quit Crimson. They managed to reach an agreement, but when Jason suddenly turned up very much alive, things went south again. Realizing that Carly would always put Jason before him, Drew decided to cut his losses and end things with her. Drew stunned Nina by hiring her back at Crimson, and their passionate arguments turned into regular passion as they had angry sex on the floor of his office. He also helped mend fences between Nina and Willow, and hired Willow to work as a spokesperson for the New Tomorrow Institute. Drew also hired Curtis to run a new wellness division for Aurora. After Nina introduced him to Congressman McConkey, the congressman revealed he was dying and suggested Drew run to replace him. He eventually decided to go for it and changed his last name to Quartermain to help with the campaign. Willow and Drew had been growing closer, but their friendship took a turn when they shared a passionate kiss on the 4th of July. They both insisted that it couldn't happen again, but it did, even with Nina continuing to sleep with Drew to keep his mind off her daughter. When he found out Cody Bell knew the truth, Drew cut him off at the pass and told Michael the truth about the kiss. Well, the first one, anyway. Drew offered Cody money to keep his mouth shut, and Willow was upset at him for confessing. Everyone was stunned when Sam died after donating liver tissue to save Lulu, and Drew struggled to comfort his daughter. When Willow tried to comfort Drew, it led to them having sex in the nursery. Drew won his election, but the celebration came to a violent end when Jason assaulted him. Everyone thought he was overreacting to a kiss, not realizing Jason knew the whole truth. Rick urged Drew to file assault charges, but Drew just wanted Jason to stay quiet. After Sam died, she named Drew as Scout and Danny's guardian, which further upset Jason. Drew tried to make it up to Michael by offering him the CEO position at Aurora, saying Curtis was only ever meant to be temporary, not realizing Michael was recording him to play for Curtis. When Drew threatened to move to DC with Scout, Carly convinced him and Jason to call a truce for the sake of the kids. But everything exploded when a nanny cam recording of Drew and Willow having sex was accidentally played on the television at the Quartermain Christmas party. He was further shocked to learn that Michael had stolen Aurora from him and installed Curtis as CEO. As Willow prepared to divorce Michael, Drew warned her to go on the offensive, but then Michael was nearly killed in an explosion. Urging Willow to use Michael's medical proxy to force his family to let her have the kids back so they could visit him only made more people hate Drew. Tracy agreed to let Willow and the kids live in the gatehouse again, but declared Drew banned from the property. During an argument with Carly, Drew publicly revealed that Jason was the father of Sasha's unborn baby and began working with Jen Sidwell to take over Sonny's waterfront property to build a public esplanade. He bought a new house and invited Willow to move in with the kids, and although she initially declined, she soon changed her mind. When asked to give Jason an alibi for the time of Cyrus' murder, Drew lied and said Jason wasn't with him. When Tracy filed a court order barring him from using the Quartermain name, Drew threatened to report that the family crypt was partially on public land. After Curtis thwarted his plans for the esplanade, Drew went to Selena Wu looking for dirt on his former friend. She didn't have any, but offered proof that his wife, Portia Robinson, had tampered with a patient's blood test results, and he used that to blackmail her into doing his bidding.